The boy was bleeding when he staggered onto the porch. Not the careless kind of blood that came from a fall or a torn fence. This was deep, intentional. A long, jagged cut ran across his shoulder, soaked through the fabric of his ripped shirt, clinging to the wound like it wanted inside him. His breath came in sharp, uneven gasps, and his eyes, wide, frantic, kept darting back toward the tree line, as if death itself might come crashing through at any moment. Samuel Crow had been sitting quietly in his rocking chair, boots hooked over the porch rail, watching the last orange light sink behind the hills. He hadn't expected anyone. No one ever came out this far. His ranch lay forgotten by town and ignored by passing roads, and that suited him just fine. But the moment he saw the boy, Samuel's hand moved instinctively to the rifle resting beside the door. The boy reached the bottom step and stopped, swaying. His lips moved, but no sound came at first. Then his knees buckled, and he grabbed the railing with trembling fingers. "Sir," the boy croaked, "if they come, hide my sister." Samuel stood slowly, the chair creaking behind him. "Easy," he said calmly. "You're hurt bad." The boy shook his head, pain flashing across his face. "Please, she's still out there. I told her to stay quiet. I told her not to move." Samuel stepped down from the porch, his shadow stretching long across the dirt. "Who's coming?" The boy swallowed hard. "Men. Riders." His voice cracked. "They burned our home. Killed my pa, killed my ma. They said we stole something. We didn't. I swear we didn't." Samuel's jaw tightened. He'd heard stories like this before. Men with guns and power, riding through forgotten land, deciding who deserved to live. Sometimes they wore badges. Sometimes they didn't. Either way, the result was always the same. "Where's your sister?" Samuel asked. The boy lifted a shaking hand and pointed toward the creek, where the cottonwood trees grew thick and low. "She's 8. Her name's Anna. She's scared." Samuel nodded once. "Stay here." He didn't wait for permission. Grabbing his rifle, he moved toward the trees, his steps slow and deliberate. Running made noise. Noise got people killed. He moved the way a man learned to move when he'd survived too many places where mistakes were permanent. He found the girl exactly where the boy said she'd be, curled beneath a cottonwood, knees tucked to her chest, dirt streaked across her small face. Her dress was torn, her shoes gone. When she saw Samuel, she flinched, pressing herself against the tree. "It's all right," Samuel said softly, kneeling a few feet away. "Your brother sent me." Her eyes searched his face, wide and glassy with fear. After a long moment, she nodded. Samuel held out his hand. She hesitated. Then she took it. Her fingers were ice cold. Back at the house, the boy, Caleb, he finally said his name was slumped against the porch post, blood still seeping through his shirt. When he saw his sister, his face crumpled. "Anna," he whispered. She ran to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. He winced but didn't let go. Samuel watched the horizon. The sun was almost gone now. Another 10 minutes and darkness would swallow the land whole. And in the dark, men like the ones Caleb described did terrible things. "They know you came this way," Samuel said. Caleb nodded. "They followed us. They won't stop." Samuel opened the door. "Get inside. Both of you. Stay away from the windows." Caleb hesitated. "Sir, if they come—" "They're coming," Samuel said flatly. That's not a question. He stepped back onto the porch and picked up his rifle. The wind shifted, carrying with it the faint, unmistakable sound of hooves. Samuel Crow didn't move. Somewhere out there, men were riding toward his land, and tonight he had decided they would go no further. The hoofbeats grew louder, not rushed, not careless. They came steady and controlled. The sound of men who knew exactly where they were going and weren't afraid of what waited for them. Samuel Crow stood at the edge of the yard, rifle resting against his shoulder, eyes fixed on the road cutting through the low rise beyond his land. Inside the house, Caleb pressed his sister close, both of them silent. Samuel had told them not to make a sound, and they obeyed. Fear had taught them how. 5 riders emerged from the dusk. They spread wide as they approached, cutting off escape routes without a word spoken. It wasn't the movement of drunks or thieves. It was practice, efficient, dangerous. Their horses slowed to an easy trot, then stopped just outside the fence line. The man in the center rode a tall black horse. He sat straight in the saddle, relaxed, confident. His coat hung open, revealing a gun belt worn low and familiar. When he lifted his head, Samuel saw cold eyes and a mouth shaped by cruelty rather than anger. "Evening," the man called. "Hell of a quiet place you got." Samuel said nothing. The man smiled faintly and nudged his horse forward a step. "We're looking for a boy and a little girl. Came through here not long ago. You see anyone like that?" "No," Samuel replied evenly. The smile vanished. One of the riders, a thin man with a scar splitting his cheek, spat into the dirt. "He's lying, Grant. Look at him." Grant raised a hand, silencing him. His gaze never left Samuel. "Now listen, old-timer. I don't enjoy repeating myself. Those kids took something that belongs to us. We're taking them back." "They didn't take anything," Samuel said, "and they're not yours." The air tightened. Grant's horse shifted beneath him, sensing the change. "This ain't your concern." "It is now." For a moment, no one moved. The land held its breath. Then Grant laughed, low and humorless. "You really want to die over strangers?" Samuel adjusted his stance, feet planted solid in the dirt. "I won't die tonight." Grant studied him carefully now, seeing not just a rancher, but a man who had lived through things. "You got no idea what you're stepping into." Samuel's voice didn't rise. "I know exactly." The scar rider's hand slid toward his gun. Samuel's rifle came up a fraction of an inch. Grant noticed. His eyes narrowed, calculating. "We'll be back," he said quietly. "And next time we won't ask." The riders turned as one and rode off, melting back into the darkness. Samuel didn't move until the sound of hooves faded. Inside, Caleb's voice trembled. "They're gone." "For now," Samuel replied. Caleb looked at him, fear sharp in his eyes. "They'll come back. They always do." Samuel nodded. "I know. Why didn't you give us up?" Caleb asked. "You don't even know us." Samuel crossed the room and knelt in front of him. "I know enough." He looked at the boy's wound, already stiffening with dried blood. "I know what happens when nobody stands in the way." Caleb swallowed. "My pa tried. They shot him anyway." Samuel rested a careful hand on the boy's uninjured shoulder. "I'm not your father. I can't promise miracles. But tonight, I'm a man between you and them." Anna looked up then, her small face streaked with tears. Are you going to fight them? Samuel met her gaze. Yes. Are you going to win? He didn't lie. I don't know. She nodded slowly, as if that was enough. Samuel stood and checked his rifle. 6 rounds left. More inside, scattered. Not many. Outside, the wind shifted, and with it came the faint smell of smoke. Samuel's eyes hardened. They're not done, he said quietly. And as the first distant glow flickered against the horizon, Samuel Crow understood one thing clearly. This night was going to cost him everything he had, but he was still standing, and so were the children behind him. The fire began as a glow. Samuel Crow saw it first through the cracked front window, a faint orange smear against the dark horizon. At first, it looked small, harmless, almost distant. Then the wind shifted and the glow spread, crawling along the grass like something alive. Smoke followed, thick, bitter, intentional. Samuel's jaw tightened. He'd seen this tactic before. Fire didn't just destroy, it forced decisions. It drove people into the open, where guns were waiting. They're burning the fields, he muttered. Behind him, Caleb stirred, blinking awake. Anna sat up at once, her small hands clutching his sleeve. When she saw the light outside, her face went pale. No, Caleb whispered. They're trying to smoke us out. Samuel didn't answer. He was already moving. He grabbed a lantern and crossed the room to the back door. You stay low, he said. Both of you. If the smoke gets thick, cover your mouths with cloth. What about you? Caleb asked. I'm going to slow them down. The night air hit Samuel like a wall of heat and ash. Flames crackled in the distance, riding the wind toward the house. Shadows leapt across the land, long and twisted, making every movement hard to read. Samuel circled wide, keeping low as he moved toward the tree line. That's when he saw them. 3 riders on foot now, moving carefully, using the fire like a herd dog, guiding it forward. Another 2 were missing, flanking. Smart. Samuel raised his rifle and steadied his breath. He fired. One man dropped with a sharp cry, clutching his leg as the others scattered for cover. Gunfire erupted in response, bullets snapping to the air, tearing bark from trees, and sending dirt spraying around Samuel's boots. He moved fast, repositioning, never firing from the same place twice. Then a voice cut through the chaos. You can still walk away. Samuel froze. The voice came from behind him. He turned slowly and saw Grant standing near the edge of the yard, pistol in hand but lowered. Firelight flickered across his face, making his eyes glow. Give me the kids, Grant said calmly. And you live. Samuel kept his rifle trained toward the trees. Not happening. Grant sighed. You're not a hero. You're just stubborn. Samuel fired, deliberately wide. The bullet slammed into the dirt beside Grant's boot. Grant dove for cover. Samuel ran. Gunfire exploded behind him as he sprinted for the house, bullets ripping through the night. One shattered a window as he dove inside, glass raining down across the floor. Down! Samuel shouted. Caleb and Anna flattened against the far wall. Smoke poured through the broken window now, thick and choking. Outside, flames reached the edge of the yard, the heat pressing in like a living thing. Samuel reloaded, hands steady despite the chaos. That's when he heard it, a scream, high-pitched, terrified. Anna! Samuel spun toward the bedroom. A man stood in the doorway. gun pressed to Caleb's head. Anna sobbed on the floor, frozen in fear. "Drop it," the man said coldly. Samuel's rifle lowered inch by inch. "You let them go," Samuel said evenly. "This ends." The man laughed softly. "You think this is about them? This is about pride." Samuel took one slow step forward. "This is about choices." The man's hand trembled. "Pull that trigger," Samuel continued quietly, "and you'll never sleep again." For a long moment, nothing moved. Then slowly, agonizingly, the gun lowered. Caleb stumbled forward, and Samuel caught him, pulling him away. The man backed up, face pale, and disappeared into the smoke. The fire roared outside. The house groaned. Samuel knew then they couldn't stay. "Trap door," he said urgently. "Now." He pushed them toward the bedroom as flames licked the porch outside. The house was going to burn, but they were still alive, and that was all that mattered. The trap door slammed shut behind them. Darkness swallowed the narrow tunnel as Samuel Crow pulled the door closed and slid the bolt into place. Smoke seeped through the cracks above, carrying the sound of roaring flames and splintering wood. The house was dying. "Stay close," Samuel whispered, lifting the lantern. The tunnel was tight, rough-hewn, and barely tall enough for Samuel to crouch. Caleb moved behind him, one hand gripping the lantern strap, the other wrapped tightly around Anna's wrist. She didn't cry now. She didn't make a sound. Fear had drained into something colder and sharper. Focus. They moved fast, boots scraping dirt, lungs burning as smoke followed them underground. Above them, the first beam collapsed. The sound thundered through the tunnel, shaking loose dirt from the ceiling. "We're running out of time," Caleb said, his voice hoarse. "I know," Samuel replied. The tunnel opened near the creek, just beyond the bend of the cottonwoods. Cool night air rushed in, sharp and clean, shocking after the heat. Samuel pushed them out first. "Go," he said. "Follow the water downstream. Don't stop." Caleb froze. "You're not coming?" Samuel stepped back, already turning. "I'll slow them." "No." Caleb grabbed his sleeve. "They'll kill you." Samuel met the boy's eyes. "They'll kill you if I don't." Anna clutched Samuel's coat with both hands. "Please don't go." Samuel knelt, gripping her shoulders gently. "Listen to me. You're stronger than you know. Both of you are." He stood and pressed his revolver into Caleb's hand. "If it comes to it, run." Caleb's hands shook. "Thank you for everything." Samuel nodded once, then turned and disappeared back into smoke. Above ground, the ranch was an inferno. Flames clawed at the sky, devouring the house beam by beam. Riders moved to the firelight like ghosts, shouting to one another. Samuel slipped between them, silent, unseen, firing only when he had to. One rider fell. Another screamed and dropped his weapon. Then Grant appeared. They faced each other across the burning yard, fire between them. "You should have walked away," Grant shouted. Samuel raised his revolver. "So should you." They fired almost together. Pain exploded across Samuel's side. He stumbled, falling hard against the dirt. Grant staggered too, clutching his shoulder, blood dark against his coat. For a moment, both men lay there, breathing smoke and ash. Grant pushed himself up first. He limped towards Samuel, gun raised. "This ends now," he snarled. Behind Grant, the barn collapsed in a roar of sparks. Grant hesitated. Just a heartbeat. It was enough. Samuel fired. Grant fell, his gun skidding across the dirt. He didn't move again. The remaining riders scattered, disappearing into the trees. Silence followed. Not peace, just aftermath. Samuel lay on his back, staring at the burning sky, his breath shallow. He didn't know how long he lay there before hooves approached again. A single rider. A badge caught the firelight. Sheriff Aldenmore dismounted, staring at the wreckage in disbelief. Good God! He rushed to Samuel's side. You alive? Depends who's asking, Samuel rasped. Moore laughed shakily. Ambulance is coming. Where are the kids? Samuel's gaze drifted toward the creek. Safe. Dawn came slow. The fire burned itself out, leaving ash and twisted beams where a home once stood. Samuel stood at the creek bank, bandaged and aching, watching the smoke rise. Caleb and Anna sat nearby, wrapped in a blanket, silent but alive. I'm sorry, Caleb said. You lost everything. Samuel shook his head. No. He looked at them. I kept what mattered. Morning arrived quietly. No gunfire. No shouting. Just the soft murmur of the creek and the distant call of a hawk circling above the valley. The land looked different in daylight, scorched and broken, but still standing. Blackened fence posts jutted on the ground like ribs, and the air smelled of wet ash and burned wood. Samuel Crow sat on a fallen log near the creek, his side wrapped in clean bandages. Every breath reminded him how close he'd come to not seeing the sun rise again. But he was here, and so were the two children sitting across from him. Caleb hadn't said much since dawn. He kept his arm around Anna, as if afraid she might disappear if he let go. Anna, for her part, stared at the water flowing past, calm now, as if the creek had carried the worst of the night away. Sheriff Moore had returned at first light with supplies, blankets, food, and a quiet respect that didn't need words. He'd asked questions, written notes, and promised the riders wouldn't be back any time soon. After he left, the silence settled in. What happens now? Caleb finally asked. Samuel followed the boy's gaze toward the remains of the house. The charred beams, the collapsed roof, everything he'd built reduced to ash. Now, Samuel said slowly, we keep moving. Caleb swallowed. We don't have anywhere to go. Samuel studied him for a long moment. Not the wound, not the dirt. The boy himself, thin, tired, older than his years. You ever hear the saying, Samuel asked, that a house ain't the same thing as a home? Caleb shook his head. A house is wood and nails, Samuel continued. A home is people who don't leave. Anna looked up at him then. Are you leaving us? The question hit harder than any bullet. Samuel crouched so he was level with her. No, he said firmly. I'm not. Caleb's breath caught. You mean we stay with you? If you want, Samuel replied. I can't replace what you lost. I won't pretend otherwise. But I won't let you face what's next alone. Caleb's eyes filled, but he didn't look away. Pa used to say real men stand when others run. Samuel nodded. Your pa was right. They sat together a while longer, letting the truth settle between them. Later, they walked the land. Samuel showed them where the new cabin could be built, closer to the creek, where the soil was good, where the fire hadn't reached. Caleb listened closely, asking questions. Anna followed, collecting smooth stones and placing them in her pocket like treasures. As the sun climbed higher, something unfamiliar crept in. Not joy, not yet, but possibility. That evening, Samuel cooked what little they had over a small fire. They ate slowly, quietly, but together. Thank you, Anna said softly. Samuel smiled. "You're welcome, sweetheart." That night, wrapped in blankets under the open sky, Caleb spoke again. "You didn't have to do any of this." Samuel stared up at the stars. "Maybe not, but some things choose you." Caleb nodded, understanding more than he said. The fire had taken Samuel's past. But what remained, 2 lives saved, 2 futures still unwritten, was worth more than anything he'd lost. And for the first time in years, Samuel didn't feel alone. Years passed, not gently, not easily, but they passed all the same. The ranch that now rested in the valley looked nothing like the ashes Samuel Crow once stood in. A small wooden house stood near the creek, sturdy and simple. A barn rose behind it, weathered but strong. Cottonwood trees lined the water, their leaves whispering in the breeze like quiet witnesses to everything that had come before. Samuel stood on the porch as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in gold and amber. His hair was more gray now, his movements slower, but his back was straight. He leaned on the railing, watching the land the way he always had. Only now he wasn't alone. Caleb moved across the yard, tall and broad-shouldered, a man grown. He carried a saddle under one arm, his steps confident. Years of work had shaped him, but so had something else, purpose. He set the saddle down and called out instructions, his voice steady. Anna followed behind him, 15 now, sharp-eyed and fearless. Her dark hair was tied back, her sleeves rolled up as she worked. She teased her brother as they fixed a fence post together, their voices rising in easy laughter. Samuel watched them with quiet pride. He didn't say much these days. He didn't have to. The way they moved through the world said everything. Caleb glanced up and caught Samuel watching. He smiled and raised a hand. Samuel lifted his own in return. That night, the fire, the guns, the fear felt like another lifetime, but its echoes lived in everything they'd built since. Later, as the light faded, the 3 of them sat at the table inside the house. Dinner was simple. The conversation was easy. Sheriff sent word. Caleb said, "Grant's gang never regrouped. Some ran, some disappeared." Samuel nodded. "That's usually how it ends." Anna looked between them. "Does it ever stop feeling strange that we're here?" Samuel considered the question. "No," he said honestly, "but that's how you know it matters." After dinner, they stepped outside. The stars came out one by one, bright and clear. Anna slipped her hand into Samuel's without thinking. Caleb watched them, his expression soft. "You ever regret it?" he asked quietly. "That night?" Samuel looked out over the land, over the home they'd built, over the lives that had grown from ashes. "No," he said, "not for a second," because he knew the truth. A man didn't become family by blood alone. He became family by standing when it would have been easier to walk away, by choosing protection over fear, by staying. The wind moved through the valley, carrying laughter from the barn, the sound warm and alive. The land felt settled, at peace. Samuel closed his eyes and breathed it in. He had lost a house that night, but he had found something far greater. He had found a home, a family, and a reason to keep standing.